Hi everybody, so this video is not going to be more than 3 or 4 minutes of length because in this video I am not supposed to do anything. I just have to give you a glimpse of one particular slide, and that slide contains all the factual consolidated information regarding the constitutional and statutory body that we already have covered on this particular channel. One warning let me issue at very outset, and that warning is that this video is going to be helpful only to those candidates who already have studied this constitutional and statutory body beforehand, right? So what information that I am talking about? So I am talking about these kind of information that you can see on the screen. Let me get off the screen so that you can have a glimpse of that particular. So I hope you already would have. You can take the screenshot. Let me get off the screen once again so that you can see it. I hope you already would have seen it. Now let me come on the screen. So many a time, see, all these bodies, you do have more than 10 or 11 constitutional bodies. Then we do have multiple statutory bodies. So I do understand that many of students, not many of students, only except those extraordinary talented students, most of the students like me who are average students, right? So most of the students may have problem in remembering all these factual information, who appoints these body, whether president or governor or central government, who decides their service condition, what is their composition, how they are removed, how they are appointed, whether there is any composition panel or whether there is any selection panel for the appointment of these bodies, who are the people who are in their selection panel. So all these information may be a Herculean task to remember, and that's why it was my attempt to put all those information at one particular slide, and so that you can take a snapshot of this particular slide, can paste it in front of your table, and considering that your prelims is drawing near, perhaps this slide is going to, although I had this slide prepared around 20 or 30 days ago, but then it came to my mind that I should be sharing it with you today itself, and that's why I'm sharing it. So see, all these bodies that you can see, 9 bodies that you do have are constitutional body. One body that has not been included here is NCBC, right? So the NCBC, you can see that whatever structure NCSC and NCST has, the same structure NCBC does have. So even if NCBC is missing, right, you can manage that. So these are the constitutional body, these 9 constitutional bodies, and these are the statutory. From the statutory body, we have this Niti Aayog, because the composition of the Niti Aayog and the structure and the work of Niti Aayog was such that it could not match with these statutory body. That's why I excluded. So except that Niti Aayog and except what you call this NCBC, which you can already manage, right, all the constitutional and most of the statutory bodies we do have on this screen. Then you do have this composition column, appointment column, selection panel, right? Then you do have this tenure, service condition, and all the information that you can see is updated. So here, if you are reading this fifth edition of the Lakshmikant, these kind of information, when you had this NHRC Amendment Act 2019, after the tenure of this NHRC, their chairperson has been changed. So all those information that you will get on this particular slide is updated. One thing that you have to notice is that there are some blocks, right? Although I was not supposed to discuss anything, but few pointers that why some blocks are put in red, and those pointers are necessary. So whenever there is a deviation from normal, then that box will be turned into red, and that's the reason. So what is the deviation from the normal that I am talking about? So see, if here this box is in this tenure column, so most of the and right now we are talking about these constitutional bodies, right? So most of the constitutional bodies tenure is already mentioned into the constitution, and some does have 6 years, some does have these 3 years. Most of the constitutional bodies does have tenure of 6 years, except the finance commission, because they cannot be given the fixed tenure. They are generally appointed by the president or commissioned by the president for 2 years or 1 year, right? So their finance commission, except that finance commission and NCSC, NCST and NCBC, whose term or tenure is around 3 years, right? Most of the constitutional bodies, that is EC or UPSC or CAG, theirs is 6 years. But here you do have these 2 constitutional bodies, that is Attorney General and Advocate General. Their tenure is not fixed, and they rely in their office on the pleasure of president. No other body that we do have in the constitutionally mentioned does have or does reside in their office at the pleasure of executive. President is ultimately what, or governor is ultimately what, right? So in relation to this Attorney General and Advocate General, there is deviation from normal. This was the normal. Here you had this fixed term, but here pleasure of president doctrine and pleasure of governor, and that's why this box has been made red. Here again, in the column of removal, in relation to the UPSC and SPSC, 2 boxes are red. So why these boxes are red? Because see, again, Whenever for removal method, if president or governor is forwarding any request to the Supreme Court, referring a case for inquiry to the Supreme Court, you will notice that whatever suggestion that Supreme Court delivers, generally those suggestions are not binding. The word is that president, after that inquiry report from Supreme Court, president can remove it. But here in case of UPSC and SPSC, State Public Service Commission, there is deviation from normal, and that normal deviation from normal is that here president will have to agree, or the advice of Supreme Court will be binding on what you call president. Similarly here as well, here you do have report submission. So if I talking here I am talking about the statutory body. So most of the statutory body will be submitting their report to either to the central government or to the state government depending on the case. But here you do have one institution called Central Vigilance Commission, right, that is submitting its report to the executive or president directly, right. So here again you do have deviation from normal, and that's why this box has been turned red. Similarly here you do have this charged expenditure. So generally to give independence, some amount of independence to the constitutional body, right, most of the constitutional bodies expenditure, their office expenditure, be it UPSC or be it CAT, right, their office expenditure is charged on the consolidated fund of India. But an important body like Election Commission, which is responsible for maintaining or securing free and fair election, surprisingly their expenditure is not charged from the consolidated fund of India, and that's why you do have this red box. All the information, these information, right, the red boxes has been pointed out because those are deviation from the normal. Other information, right, let me clear the other information has already been discussed. There is no point. My only purpose of shooting this particular video was just to give you a glimpse of this particular slide so that you can take the screenshot of this particular slide, have it on your table front, right, and continuously revise it, right. So I hope my purpose would have been fruitful. This information will be useful in your prelims exam, right. We will continue covering Indian polity until we come up with the next lecture. Till then, bye bye.